Welcome, everybody, to Hanging Out with Howie. Tonight, we're going to talk about techniques for a quick setup. It's not like the old days. There's a lot of wedding factories, even larger hotels, where they'll have several events at one time and they go, oh, hey, you only have an hour to set up. Or, hey, even worse, you used to be able to take your time on breaking down. And now it's like, hey, you got an hour, get out of here. We don't want to pay our staff overtime. So we're going to talk about techniques for quick setup and teardown. So let's see. Let's start with a tip from Eric with a big production company there up in Lake Placid, Good Guy Productions. Eric, what do you got for us?
You know, it's always a positive and a negative to go first. I do like going first because then, you know, my ideas aren't taken away. So,
yeah.
so I'm going to focus on lighting on my part of this because lighting a lot of times takes a while to set up, to wire, to hide the wires, to make everything look nice and pretty. So what we've done this year is we've put away, let me see how I can say it. We've risked and jeopardized our equipment a hair by presetting a lot of things just because of what you said, Howie. Places now will say, we don't want to pay our staff to sit around for the hour and a half for you to break things down. We need you out of here. So I'm going to do that quick screen share, which I was showing just before we hit to go live. All right. So this is part of it. Everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is what I use. This is what everybody uses in my multi-op business. Inside my rig right here, I've got the microphone already pre-wired, the wireless, also hardwired back there. We also have a tail in case we need to connect a song to our phone. On the back are two tails sticking out with two little shorty XLRs. So that means that I can open this rig up, pop in the cables to the speakers, and that's ready to go. So the audio side of it. On the lighting side of it, you'll see that I have three different elements here. The top one is the My DMX RM, and you'll see, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
So I'm going to show you my lights in a second. Each one of these is a pre-programmed show. This gets us up and running faster. The Hexcon controller right here controls my up lights. If I'm using any movers, I use this control panel down here, which is the Wi-Fi WLR16. So it's a 2x16. So that gets us up and running quickly once we drop things into the room. And let me go this other one. I wanted to show you this here. These are what we bring into the rig. So I can do a quick video, but I'll save that in case we have time later because I tend to be long-winded sometimes. There are companies out there.
Can you make the picture bigger?
Maybe.
We see four pictures there.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see just the rig now?
No. Nope, four pictures right now.
Who's that girl?
Scared me for a second there.
Yeah, I know it did. I know it did because you didn't know it was on the screen.
Okay, how about that one right
there we go.
Okay, so there are companies out there that make little contraptions like this. We put our own together. So we've got the mini Decker lasers on both sides. We've got a UV LED 16, a Freak 5, and a Starburst. So those guys, it becomes its own little bar of lights that we can hook up and quickly drop in. You'll see this was right on top of a tripod.
Yes.
And we have the little harness. We have two wires that connect to power cords. And I have a DMX cable that comes off of this as well. So my light show is up within 2 minutes. My DJ rig is up within 5 minutes with the speakers. I can literally be ready from door to set up in 10 minutes if I have to be.
If you have to.
Yeah. And there's my DJ tip in 10 minutes.
Oh, right. All right. I'm going to go to the man, the myth, the legend from Temecula, California, the one and only Jay Brannon.
Hey, this is actually really apropos because as I was saying before you got in here, Howie, yesterday my wedding was at a very exclusive but very popular site, meaning a lot of people that aren't staying at the hotel still go there because it's on the beach, a place called the Hotel del Coronado. So you have maybe 30,000 people between the beach and the property just hanging out. And in the middle, in the back of it, it's a big lawn where I had a wedding ceremony. And then upstairs in a ballroom, I had the reception. And I was faced with something I'm sure we've all had to do. I had to provide sound outside and then invite the guests to go upstairs and abandon the sound gear. So my tip is, in a case like that, you bring the extra cable to run either an iPad, your phone, something for sound, because the laptop never goes without me. So the laptop went upstairs. I then came back downstairs, plugged in a handheld mic, disconnected the iPad, announced that the guests needed to go upstairs, covered the gear, put it on the ground, ran upstairs, introduced the wedding party, and then came back down and then carried the gear back upstairs. But again, just like Eric said, when you get into rooms where you don't know the logistics, you really need to put your foot down sometimes and say, I can't leave my gear sitting there. So you need to be allowing of me to leave right after introduction or whatever, unless you have an assistant. So I think the more you know ahead of time, and I knew this going into it, I knew this would be a challenging gig. You know, that's why site inspections, whenever possible, I think are one of the best tips I could leave anyone new to this. Know the venue, know where you're going to place, write a schematic. I mean, you have to do a lot of work, Eric, with cabling. I fortunately have gone the route of wireless. So I literally, my lights took a minute to set up, drop them, and then I turn them on later. You know, so that part's easy at the end of the night. But also, consider moving your stuff outside of the room door. Sometimes there's a hallway where I've had to move outside the room so they could clean it or lock it, but my gear's still safe in the hallway. So just a couple of things that might help people when it comes to a stressful environment where you've got a lot of people that may steal your stuff.
Well, I think that's important. That's pre-staging, especially if there's another DJ doing like what happened to me. They're like, yeah, you can come in at 3:00. You know, you plenty of time. I'm on at 5, and they booked a shower for that day. And it's like, wow, I was lucky that, the other DJ was very cooperative. I said, hey, look, I start at 5. He goes, I end at 4. I was like, okay, how about, you go out from the right and I come in and set from the left. And so it pays to be nice to the other vendors.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're going to go to John C. from Boston, Massachusetts. And
hey, guys. I found labeling the cables would be very, very helpful. Just because a lot of times if you're setting up clubs, bars, it's dark. You can't see a whole lot of things. I've got big white labels on every single, from the XLRs to the DMX cords. And I do try to take a couple extra minutes on breakdown to at least make sure that if the light goes in a road case, it's got the power con, it's got the cables it needs, because sometimes different gear of mine go out in different arrangements. So I want the case that has what it needs to run to at least have what makes it work inside, so I don't have to go rummaging through the spare cable bag. And it just saves me a lot of time with having things where they belong. I know we try to rush to get out, but when you drop that set of lights in, just make sure the wires go with it. Because if you take that out solo and it's not with the other bag that has the quick breakdown where you just jam everything into a bag and say, I'll sort it out tomorrow, a lot of times things end up in the wrong place. And you don't have
Right. Okay. Danny, you have built a business on quick setups and teardowns.
Yeah. So basically having as much pre-wired as you can. So you don't need to connect all your electronics together. You want to be able to plug in a power, plug in a couple XLRs, maybe a DMX cable or two, and go. But I didn't really just want to talk about the Infinity console, but so I did events for a long time. I'm not currently doing them, but I did do them a long time. And what I feel was really the most important thing was knowing the venue and calling ahead beforehand. Call the maitre d', call the venue, arrange when you can get there, ask if there's anything you particularly need to know when you have access to the room. Basically, you don't want any surprises. And I think that's really the key. If the venue you've never been to before, you show up, oh no, there's 2 flights of stairs, something like that. You need to know all that beforehand so you can arrange for extra staff and make sure that you can do a quick setup. So that's pretty much the tips that I would give. And it's been a long time since I DJ'd, but I also did run a photo booth company, which is similar too, because we're setting up equipment, we're loading in the same exact thing. And I did that for 10 years. So that would be my advice.
Alrighty, we are going to go to Maryland, famous for their crabs and famous for Carlisle Entertainment, and Bill Marsh.
So I was originally going to talk about, like advanced staging my equipment outside of the room. I was also going to talk about pre-wiring my sound system. I was also going to talk about planning to fail or failing to plan is planning to fail, and not, going into a venue you don't know, not doing an advanced scouting report first. So all those are covered. I guess I'm kind of left with just saying that I've tried to simplify my setup as much as possible by going kind of like Jay with wireless things when I can, and going, to doing a lot of things in advance when I can as well. Most of my lighting is static. I don't have very often a situation where I'm doing DMX. So like for my uplights, for example, I preset the color before I even get it, when I'm charging them. After they're charged, I preset the color. It's done. I know where it's going. All I got to do is place it and turn it on. And my lights also have an IR remote like the Chavez, so I can turn them off if I want to save the battery for some time. I also use the pin spots and other wireless magnetic lights, up in the ceiling, so do the same thing. I even found a cool little pole that I already own for hooking up Christmas lights that is awesome for putting the pin spots up on, the ceiling grid if I'm putting on something magnetic. Not so good for taking them down, but it's great for getting them up. So it's just, to me, it's just do as much as you can before you get in the room, if you have to. But I like taking 3 hours to set up if I can.
Excellent. So. Thank you, Bill. Now, well, next to last but not least, best wingman I've ever had, musical savant from Milwaukee, the one and only BSR.
Hi. Yeah, you guys have covered a lot of good stuff, and it's all a lot of common sense sort of stuff that you should be doing. Unfortunately, common sense is not common. And when I had my unfortunate thing happen to me about 10 years ago, everybody told me that you'll never gig alone again. Well, first you'll never gig again, then you'll never gig alone again. I had assistants for the first year, and what I found was I don't manage employees very well. And the stress of someone showing up late for me to perform my job was something that I didn't need, or I could perhaps have another episode. So I had to think about ways that I could simplify things, that I could set up and break down one-handed. Not only set up and break down, but load in, load out the whole bit. And in a timely manner, because as you mentioned earlier, we're on time constraints now. It's not like we've got 3 hours to break this stuff down. So I got to get out in a time, I got to get up in a timely manner, and I got to get out in a timely manner. And it's evolved over many years. But yeah, small is good. Anything I can do to save time, I do. It doesn't matter how much it costs. In the grand scheme of things, if it affects my bottom line, fine, it affects my bottom line. Otherwise, I can't perform the job at hand.
Time is money.
It is. It's to the point now where I did an event on, last Wednesday. It was my nephew's wedding. I was in Indiana. And my great nieces, who are 3 and 6, said, "Hey, Uncle Brian, can we help?" When it was time for breakdown, I said, "Yeah, go collect the lights in the room." And they did. They walked around, they picked up the lights, they brought them to me, I put them in a case. Meant I didn't have to bend my crippled butt down to pick them up. It's that easy. And I was trying to make it last longer so they were, have something to do for a longer amount of time, but it couldn't. I mean, it just went so fast. battery powered RF remote control on that stuff. Speakers go up easy. They break down easy. Everything carries easy. Nothing weighs a lot. And I think that I could probably get my entire setup running quicker than most people can who are able-bodied with a setup, because it's just so small, just efficient. And as I believe Danny mentioned, the consolidation of anything you can in a rack, and Eric mentioned it as well, is a good thing. I've got that in a very small battle mixer rack. I've got power for my laptop. I've got cable leads for my wireless microphone, not only the DC, but I also have the audio lead pre-wired, zip tied together, ready to go. I've got USBs ready to go into the computer. It doesn't take much anymore. Anything I can do to save time, I do. And I believe it was John who mentioned not having like just a giant cable bag with every cable you need in it. Kind of try to get your cables in a place that makes sense with the equipment that they go to, so you're not rummaging through bags to find things. The other thing I will mention real quick before I'm done here on my little soapbox is that you probably don't need 50 pounds of spare cables. Well, maybe Eric does. Okay. Eric might.
You're reading my mind.
Most people don't. All right. Eric does. But if you're not Eric, you don't need this. You need an XLR or two. You need an IEC or two extra. You don't need the stuff that you needed 10, 15, 20 years ago, because everything's built in backup now. If you think about it, most everything's built in backup. The Evolve 30M speakers I'm using right now both have built-in mixers, let alone built-in amplifiers. I don't have to carry backup mixing boards. I don't have to carry backup amplifiers. It's there already. The only thing you really need is a backup music source. Everything else, your backup plan should be there for you to get you by. And the same thing with cables. You don't got to go nuts with this stuff. My cable bag right now, it weighed a lot. I just actually went back through it. I think my cable bag probably weighed about 15, 20 pounds. It now weighs like this, maybe like a cat. It's like a cat. It's like picking up, that's it. Maybe 10 pounds.
Yeah.
It's fat,
Yeah. I think you make some good points there. And I personally have taken your techniques, because you're disabled and you're one-handed. You become very efficient out of necessity. But those techniques have translated to, hey, that's a good idea, because now I'm faster too. So, the way I see it is, if I was going to stroke out, this was the time to do it, because this is when stuff started happening, when things started getting smaller and things started getting easier. This had happened to me in the 90s. I'd have to be like on the side of the road with a tin cup or something, but now I can still do my job. Yeah. Well, okay. Being that you guys took all my suggestions.
Did you let Travis
Eric
go?
mentioned about going first and last. Actually,
what about you got Travis yet?
Oh, is Travis here?
Yeah.
Oh, Travis. I'm so sorry. We've got so many screens here. This is a great night. Travis, go ahead.
So I have really kind of taken the whole quick teardown and setup concept and run amok with it, if you will. So I've got the video booth, but it's so much more than that. It's completely self-contained. It's all pre-wired. On the back side of it, there's a 16U rack that has drawers, my microphone system. It has a pass-through for all my XLRs to my speakers. It's got a rack-mounted power strip, so I can plug my speakers into that. So I can literally roll in totems, movers, column arrays, and I can be set up in less than 10 minutes. Teardown usually takes me about 15, because I like to organize my cables before I pack them up, just so I'm ready for the next gig. So there's that, but simple other things that I would have never thought of, and until I had seen some videos from some of the people that are in this room, things like pre-wiring your totems, having my PowerCon cable taped in there. That way I can just wrap it up, keep it in the totem, put the totem in a bag. When I get to the event, I can set it up, put the totem together, and then just plug in the mover. I for my subs, for my tops and my subs, my XLR and my power cable that goes up to the tops, I have Velcro ties already on the cables. So when I put it up on the pole, I can just go ahead and take that tie and wrap it in the top, the middle, and the bottom.
Yep.
That way it's done.
Yeah.
I keep all of my gear in bags. I keep my speakers in bags. I keep my lighting in bags. And I store the corresponding cable in the bag to go with it. That way I know it's always together. And then I also, out of fear of failure, my laptop bag, which is a backpack, all of my extras, my spares, my backup cables are all stored in that bag. I've got like 3 extra extension cords, 4 or 5 extra XLRs, just, for whatever might happen. So I've been to venues before where I had my older setup with the facade and the tabletop, and I got it down to about 30 minutes tear down. But with this system, when I first unveiled it in 2019, I was at a venue that I play at a lot, and I was rolling out. I was done. It took me, I think, 18 minutes to tear down. I'm rolling out. I look at the guy that's like part of the venue. He's part of the venue staff, and he's the one that has to supervise and make sure all the other venue staff members do their jobs, and to make sure all the vendors get all their stuff out. I shoot him a peace sign. I'm like, take it easy, man. I'm out of here. I'll see you in a couple months. And he was like, wait, you're already done? I said, yes, sir. I'm out of here. And he was like, dude, can I have some cards? Because the last DJ kept me here till 3 a.m. and I'm so happy I don't have to do that. And
there you
now
go.
That venue pushes me really hard because they know I can get in and out in a really, really quick time, and I'm not holding their staff up.
Yes, that seems to be very important in business. It's like we want to let our people go, and man, it paid off for you. So that's wonderful. So I guess, okay, I'm going to have to come up with something new and different, because I think all of us do. I think most, weddings, we're going to do 2 systems. We're going to do a ceremony and we're going to do the reception. So that's 2 setups. So like's been said here, everything I have is pre-wired, where the most I'll have to do is power it and, XLR cable to the powered speaker. What I have found, and I fell in love with, and I've shown this before, but it's these little lunchbox power supplies right here. And this particular one is Energizer, and it has 2 Edison receptacles. It has USB as well, and it has 12 volt. This can be used as a pass-through. So in other words, if you're in a situation like it's iffy, like these barn wedding things that they're doing, the power is iffy. If the power goes out, this will keep your system up and running. What I did was I bought one for each speaker, and I did a test on it, and it ran. It was the Electro Voice, the ZLX, I believe, 12-inch top.
Yeah,
and it ran for 11 hours.
Oh, wow.
So now I know if it came down, push to shove, I could run 2 of these. I could run 2 of them off of one, but I erred on the side of caution, and I got 3, and because I got one for the sub.
I like that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like a lunchbox. I mean,
I like you have 3 of them. That's that.
Maybe, well, I have
a very Howie Darkstar thing to do.
Yeah. But now here's the thing. For me to save time, I'm like, okay, the cocktail hour is in a different room somewhere. And it's like, okay, great. If I'm not using the Howie box, it's like, okay, powered speaker on a stand. I got to find an outlet. Then you got to tape it down. Nope. I have one very much like what Travis mentioned, where, the XLR and not the XLR, but the power cord already has the Velcro on it, and it's 2 size. And this thing fits right under the tripod. No coiled wires. It plugs right in. and it's quick up and down for that remote location. And that could be for ceremony or a remote cocktail somewhere, whatever. But it's the new hot thing out there. They range in price depending, you do the math. How long do you need for your application? They can range anywhere from $150 up to $600-$700 if you want to run a whole system. That sort of thing. But these here, I got these on sale for right around $200, and I can get 11 hours out of it. So, hey, I'm golden with that. So
there's the tip of the night.
Anybody have some final thoughts? What do you got there, Eric?
I just wrote that down.
Oh,
you know what I'm doing right after we get done the show, right?
Oh, this one is discontinued. The new one, oh my God, it's coming. It's on the way. The new one actually has a meter that tells you how many watts you're drawing. We all know the SPL versus, watts, where they have that banner on it. Oh, it's 1,000-watt speaker. Yeah. No, when you plug it in, it tells you, much like the kilowatt meter. It's like, I'm doing ear splitting music at 45 watts. I'm drawing off of those 12-inch tops. So I have to bring it down. And then if you do the math, it really does work out by what the watt hours here times 0.85 for your losses with converting. And then you divide by the consumption, which is, I said 35 watts, and it came out, I'm like, is that right? Is it going to last 11, 12 hours? I said, well, I guess the neighbors are going to find out. And they did. Yep. They did. It actually lasted over 11 hours. I was like, I think that's probably that's long enough headroom, maybe, and I got it on sale for $200. So
I have an old school tip.
Yeah,
that
go.
Sounds awesome.
So I never did this before, but like several of our distinguished guests were saying, cable management is important, especially when you're trying to wrap, somebody, Travis mentioned, he takes the time to wrap the cables at the end of the night. Now, the reason he does that is because he doesn't want to go to his next job and have a spaghetti incident when he's trying to pull cables out. Now, I really only need, if I think about it, I think I only need about 6 or 7 different cables to make my rig run. So I can have those in one place and then spare somewhere else. I used to use self-winders on everything, but they're kind of heavy, and I'm getting more agile as I go here. So I've gotten away from self-winders, and I'm going to regular cables. Now, I try to wrap my cables as well as I can, but you can only do so good of a job with one hand. I'd never used these before, but I started using them about 2 weeks ago, and I dig them. I got these from Dr. Frankenstein years ago. These little Velcro cable things, So you basically, you take this sucker and you put it through the hole and pull it, and you put your cable through the middle, and you've got this Velcro attached to a cable. So when you put your cables away, if you wrap them and Velcro them together, you're not going to get that spaghetti incident anymore. When you go to take the stuff out to set up, it's going to go a lot faster for you. It's a quick little step that has saved me a lot of time already, just using these stupid Velcro straps on cables. I know some of you already do this. Some of you are thinking, well, that's not even worth mentioning. Well, you probably not for those of you who've been doing it for 10 years, but I just started doing it 2 weeks ago, and I really like it.
Now, Jay, I saw what you did there, Jay. I saw that. I have a variety of those. The bungee balls. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mike Sanchez turned me onto those.
Gave me Pulse. Pulse came down, and as a thank you for me driving him to Vegas to Mobile Beat a few years ago, he gave me a bag of like 30 of them. And it didn't dawn on me, like, every time there's a cable anywhere, I'm just like attaching it to speaker stands or whatever. The other thing is, along with what you said, Brian said, Eric, pretty much everyone, and it took me 25 years to come up with this genius move. I literally this year decided I was sick of carrying 2 American DJ black and red tool bags, a hockey bag, a custom bag, and then another bag. Because
you went through the cable bag,
like Brian said. No, I not only did that, Brian. I did what makes so much sense. It's the dumbest thing ever. I literally set up my system the exact way I wanted it. Speed, the EVs were far enough away. Everything was where it wanted. And I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a bag. I bought 2. And I bought 1 for ceremony and I bought 1 for reception. And then at the end of the night, I took the empty bag and I took all the cables from the reception and put them in that bag and marked it 2. Then the other bag, including a charger for my laptop and a microphone, I put in the first bag and marked it 1. So now that bag goes with ceremony. It has everything like John said. And the other bag goes, like yesterday, I literally pulled 2 bags, even though force of habit, I pulled 5 bags, but I never needed anything out of the other bags.
Right.
But I still carry the spaghetti bags that are like, oh, you know, that day that I need that 32-foot RCA to RCA cable because it's going to come up one time where I've got to do a projector, and then you realize, no, I don't. They're going to run an HDMI to me and I'll be okay. Like the little things. It's amazing how you can teach an old dog new tricks by just being common sense about it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I started doing that, and I was going to mention that. Really good point, Jay, is like for all 3 systems that I have, all of the cabling goes with that. It's not like, okay, I'm done with the ceremony. Okay, now I need this cable no. Cables for each individual one, and then a go-to bag for your spares that would cover all 3. So yeah. Good. This was really good stuff tonight, guys. Really excellent. So, hey, we're going to call it and put a fork in it. And thank you all for participating and for tuning in. And if you have any show ideas or things you want this obviously seasoned crew here to,
calling us old,
run a panel on. Yeah. But I like seasoned rather than old.
It would be fun. It would be fun to take all of our years experience, do the math, and figure out how many hundreds of years experience we all have.
In this room,
Couple.
Probably 1,000, right?
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about you, Howie. I'm talking about everyone collectively.
Okay.
So 1,030.
We'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses.
On that note, we're going to end this before they back the bus back over me again.
Beep, 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 beep.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.